Good morning and welcome to One Baha'i, that regular show where I just sit back and talk a little bit about the Baha'i faith. As you know, it's nothing official, just me, one individual, one Baha'i. So you may remember yesterday we talked a little bit about that section on the most vital and challenging issue facing America in the advent of divine justice. And as I signed off, I said, be active. I wanted to touch on that for a moment, but in the context of this last paragraph in that section. Shoghi Effendi, to me, he's getting down to brass tacks. He's getting down to action in this last paragraph. He says, let the white make a supreme effort in their resolve to contribute their share to the solution of this problem. Going back to this idea of how difficult it is, it's not just an effort. It's a supreme effort. And it's resolve. It's a very firm commitment. Now, of course, the question is, okay, sure, I'm resolved to do something. What do I do? How do I act? He says, to abandon once and for all their usually inherent and at times subconscious sense of superiority. To correct their tendency towards revealing a patronizing attitude towards the members of the other race. To persuade them through their intimate, spontaneous and informal association with them of the genuineness of their friendship and the sincerity of their intentions, and to master their impatience of any lack of responsiveness on the part of a people who have received for so long a period such grievous and slow healing wounds. There's so much in there. The other day, a friend of mine asked a really poignant question. She lives in New York, and she's African American. And she said she doesn't understand this. She doesn't understand how it would be so difficult to let go of a sense of superiority. She said, she asked for an explanation. And I was so touched that she felt safe enough within the group to ask this. And it led to some really great conversation. Why is it so hard to let go of this sense of superiority? And I don't know. I think it all has to do with egotism. And then I think it also has to do with a question of comfort. Now, the reason I say that is that when you are in a position of advantage over someone else, a sense of equality feels like oppression. It isn't, but it feels like it. It's not that the one in the superior position is being lowered. No. It's that the other is being raised. And as you know from relativity, when you're in these two positions, the one lowering and the one raising is actually indistinguishable to the two people involved. So it's not easy, but it is possible, and it's a necessity. I'm reminded of a few years ago, we started eating more bitter greens in my family, and at first it was pretty unbearable. Neither my son nor I were used to this extreme bitter taste. So we would just have a few leaves at a time. But then as we began to get used to it, as our body began to recognize that it needed this, those bitter greens started tasting better and better. And now, whenever we make a salad, we usually have some bitter greens in them, and it's totally palatable. So it was uncomfortable at first, But by taking those slow steps and acclimatizing ourselves to it, we can now partake of the benefits of them. He goes on and he talks about this intimate, spontaneous, and informal association. Remember yesterday I talked about going to the movies, going bowling? That to me is something that I've heard talk about for many decades now. Sure, we go to parks together and we have these race unity picnics, but do you hang out together? And quite often the intention was there, but it didn't really happen. And I think we need to make an effort to make it happen. But there will be a lack of responsiveness. Because when you've been hurt so many times, when you have faced so often abuse and oppression, when you hear this talk of a friendship again, you're probably going to sit there. The African American will sit there and go, oh, yeah, right, sure, once more. I've seen this. I've heard it. It's a reality. And it is only through this constant interaction that the hearts will be persuaded. Now, I'm reminded of my friend who taught me the faith. She's African American. And it was only through her constant phone calls, continually reaching out, that I was persuaded to investigate the faith more deeply. And I wasn't abused. So I can only presume in the reverse that persuasion needs to be even greater. That constant reaching out with love and tenderness needs to be even more. So this tremendous action needs to happen on the part of the white people. That is part of their job. They are the ones that need to reach out. We are the ones that need to reach out. But Shoghi Effendi doesn't stop there. Remember, it's not all on the part of one group of people. He continues. He says, let the Negroes, the African Americans, through a corresponding effort on their part, show by every means in their power the warmth of their response, their readiness to forget the past, and their ability to wipe out every trace of suspicion that may still linger in their hearts and minds. To me, this is what I think of as a passive effort. I may be wrong on this, but it seems to me that as I reach out, their duty is not to, or their task, I should say, their task is not to reach back, but it's rather to allow me to reach out. And remember in that section on rectitude of conduct, one of the issues was trustworthiness. I have to be worthy of their trust. It's something that requires a tremendous effort on my part. I do not naturally call people. Ask the lady who taught me the faith. Maybe I'll give her a call after this. And it's not going to be easy on the part of the African American to give a warm response to those who have abused you. Now, I'm not saying that every white person has abused every African American, but white culture has abused African American culture. And yet they still must strive, because it's not going to be easy, to give a warm response, to wipe out every trace of suspicion that may still linger. Now, it lingers for a reason, but again, with great effort, they may be able to overcome it. And again, there's a tremendous importance on the part of the white to be worthy of that trust. trustworthiness again. Let neither think that anything short of genuine love, extreme patience, true humility, consummate tact, sound initiative, mature wisdom, and deliberate, persistent, and prayerful effort can succeed in blotting out the stain which this patent evil has left on the fair name of their common country. I find it quite interesting that Shoghi Effendi qualifies every single one of those. It's not just love, it's genuine love. It's not just patience, it's extreme patience. It's not merely humility, it's true humility. But effort is qualified with 3 adjectives: deliberate, persistent, and prayerful. As we move within this realm, the realm of striving towards race unity, our effort has to be so great, triple all these other nouns. It has to be deliberate, which has the implication of careful and conscious. It has to be persistent. We must continue to do it. But we need to do it prayerfully. We need to rely upon those divine blessings. Nothing short of the power of God will be able to help us in this. And remember, it's not a problem that can be either easily or immediately resolved. It will take time. But Shoghi Effendi gives us the tools, he gives us the guidelines by which we can do it. I was so proud of the Baha'i community when I saw the Minneapolis Baha'is' response to the crowds gathering around where that man was murdered. And it was a murder. Opening up the Baha'i Center and doing all that they could to support the demonstrators, so beautiful. Well done. Let them believe and be firmly convinced that on their mutual understanding, their amity, and sustained cooperation must depend, more than on any other force or organization operating outside the circle of their faith, the deflection of that dangerous course so greatly feared by Abdu'l-Baha, and the materialization of the hopes he cherished for their joint contribution to the fulfillment of that country's glorious destiny. Friends, we are all in it together. Together we rise, divided we fall. This is such an important part of this book. It is such an important task that we are all striving to achieve. I would so love to hear of your successes. I would love to see what I can do to help in your obstacles and help overcome your obstacles. Share them. If you face an obstacle that you're struggling with, share it. I'll share it with you. Maybe somebody else out there can help find a solution. I would love to hear from you. This is such an important issue. And we probably face another weekend of demonstrations. So again, be out there. Be safe. Act. Thank you very much for joining me this week. Next week, I do start work again, it seems. So I may be switching this to a weekly vlog as opposed to a daily one. I'm not sure yet. We'll see what it looks like. But in the meantime, thank you very much. and we'll talk again.